Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show. Hello there, and welcome to iPad Pros. Joining me today on the podcast is Shawn Hickman, the developer behind Sofa. In this episode, we dive into a bit on his iPad usage, and then we dive deep into Sofa, which just added a brand new podcast app feature, which is fantastic. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I encourage you to download Sofa for free to follow along as we dive into this awesome app. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so over patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts to iPad Pros. By supporting the podcast financially, you'll get early access to both iPad Pros and my other podcast, Vision Pros. My great thanks to everyone that supports the show. With that, here's my interview with Shawn. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Shawn.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So you're the developer behind Sofa. Any other apps you've created of note to mention, or was that your first big one?
No, that was the first one. There's actually Sofa has like a little bit longer history because there was like the first version of Sofa that I was just a designer on.
Yeah.
And then there was the second version where I took over development and stuff like that. But it's been Sofa it'll actually be 10 years in September that I've been working on Sofa in some form. So,
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time flies. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little depressing actually when
yeah,
I think about it. It's like 10 years. My God.
Yeah, I look at even just like how old the iPad is. It's like I was young, but not like a teenager. I don't know. It's like I was young when the iPad came out, but now it's like, oh my gosh, it's been so long. And I look back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're going to get into iPad stuff, but like, I mean, I remember the day I bought the first iPad, like when it first came out. I still remember that feeling.
No, it was
amazing.
Yeah. It was a magical little piece of glass. That Maps app just zooming in with your fingers.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So
incredible.
let's dive into iPad. So iPad for you, iPad serves a different role in everyone's life. Some people, it's kind of one of their main kind of go-to computers. Other people, it's one of many. And everyone needs to find their role for you. And, as Steve Jobs said, it, does some things better than traditional computers, some things better than the phone, some things the phone's better at. So where has it followed for you? What role is it for you?
Yeah. So that's been like a long journey with the iPad, but right now the role for me is like, it's my hobby computer. And it's, if you think like we're nerds, we have multiple computers. And when I was thinking about this, the Mac is like my work computer. The iPad is my hobby computer. The Apple Watch is like my health computer in a way.
Yeah.
So they all have these different roles. And I tried pretty hard, like many people, to make the iPad fill the role of work for me. But it just didn't fit. And for specifically what I do. So
Xcode is kind of a glaring omission.
Yeah. You can, there's people mostly in like web development where you can work around that stuff.
Yeah.
But even with, I've even looked at that. It's just not very pleasant, right? Like the Mac is much more open in what you can do and can't do and stuff like that.
Sure.
So,
yeah. But I don't know about you. I spend a lot of time on hobby projects as well, and it's not the 9 to 5 day job thing, but as far as hobby computers, I might get a lot of use as well. I mean, it's
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. Like hobby is, depending on what your hobbies are, that can vary greatly. Like some people, their hobby is writing software, so their Mac might be their hobby computer.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for me, the iPad is like, I guess like my main hobby is photography. And like one of the main things that I think the iPad is better than any other device I have is editing photos. So like I use Lightroom and there's other photo apps and stuff like that. But just like the interface itself and just like holding the picture and then manipulating stuff with your finger or a pencil. And the display of the iPad is incredible. So like you get great colors, great contrast, all that stuff. So yeah, for like that specific hobby, I find editing photos to be really nice. Also because it just puts me in like a different state, right? So like, right now I'm at my desk, right? I'm like in my, my computer chair and like I'm kind of like locked in. But when I grab the iPad, I definitely, it does go back to the original Steve Jobs unveiling.
Yeah.
Where he's got a very specific lounge chair and all that.
It's your
stuff.
sofa computer, you could call it.
I mean, kind of, yeah. That's actually true.
Yeah.
No one's ever said that before, but that's 100% correct. Yeah.
But photo editing, it's so good because there is Lightroom, but there's this whole ecosystem of like Pixelmator Photo, and there's all sorts of different tools that do things slightly differently, and it's just more. I think it's a more robust kind of ecosystem than even on the Mac as far as what's available.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, if you think like, now I'm thinking about just like creativity, design, art-based tools are actually like really great on the iPad. So if you're someone who loves to draw, or even just like kind of basic design stuff, is actually really nice. And that's probably because like, I guess if you think, because my previous, like I was professionally a designer, and then I learned development over time. So I have a lot of experience in like both worlds, and manipulating stuff like physical things with a mouse and keyboard is fine, but it is better when I can just take my hand or finger and move stuff, right? Or like a pencil or something like that. But when I'm writing code, I just want like my mechanical keyboard and mouse and stuff like that. Yes. So just very different states.
And in the video you did about the iPad being your hobby computer, you point out, man, it's people don't like to hear this, but the iPad is a phenomenal TV. Like if you go back to the 1950s where TVs were about the size of a big iPad, I don't know, they weren't that big back then until that person, this will be a high def color thing that you can just take anywhere and go, you could be at the top of a mountain watching some crazy TV show or movie.
Yeah. You could be on a mountain or going to the bathroom, right? Yeah, like it's just like whatever. Like it is, you know what got me thinking about that is, because I have Sofa on the iPad, and I've heard this from other developers too, where designing for the iPad is surprisingly challenging, like to design an app UI.
Because you don't want to make it just a big iPhone. It's different.
Right, exactly. And like, but there's times you're like, okay, is this like a little Mac? Is this like a baby Mac? Or is this like a really small TV? And because sometimes I want to go more in the Apple TV UI direction because that feels a little more natural with that kind of form factor. Yeah. But then, you kind of have stuff where you want it to work well with the keyboard and, trackpad and stuff. But yeah, it is like the iPad as a TV is, I mean, I said it in the video, it's the best TV I've ever owned in my life because I can bring it anywhere. I can watch anything. And even simple stuff like this where it's better than the Mac where like if you're traveling and you say you have YouTube or whatever or any of these streaming services, they let you download stuff for offline.
Yeah, the Mac is so difficult to do that unless you want to break some laws.
Exactly, right? Like you got to go into hacker mode for that stuff, right?
But the ecosystem for video apps on the iPad they're all there. It's like
incredible. Yeah, it's so good. So like between the hobby for me for like editing photos and like it being my TV and that TV, like you said, you bring it anywhere. I stick it up when I'm washing dishes, right? And
totally.
Put stuff on and it's the best. Love it.
No, I use it for that during my breaks at work for sure. And have the nano texture and it's like, so you see it outside.
What do you think of the nano texture?
I
haven't
love it.
Actually,
I have the 11-inch, and when I eventually upgrade my big iPad at some point, I have the M1, big boy one. I want nano texture on that at some point because it's so nice. I'm sure in a perfectly dark room you get better colors and crap, but you really don't notice it, and you just notice instead, don't need to change the angle of this constantly because there's a light. And in the past, it's like I didn't notice all the reflections. And once you just like that, that fixes that. It's like, I've been living with that for how many years?
How is it to clean? Like, does it get super dirty or is it all right?
It hasn't been an issue. I don't need to clean it that often, quite honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's been fine.
Yeah, because I have the nanotexture on my studio display, and I love it but obviously I never touch the screen. But
Because
I love it
that
'cause, like,
model
yeah.
of nanotexture is the physical etching, right, versus the chemical treatment.
Yeah, that's why I was curious, like, the difference between the two. Yeah, all right. So, I mean, I'm not due for a new iPad
Right.
for quite some time. But
Because you have an M4 one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually downsized. I've used all the sizes. I had a mini for a while, and then I gave my wife I think it was the M2 or no, or M1 12.9 inch.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one. So she uses that now, and then I got the 11 inch because I've tried all of them. I feel like the 11 inch for me is like that's the size, and even though I would edit pictures on the bigger one, and that's awesome, I don't know, just kind of carrying that thing around feels good.
Yeah, I went to the 11 as well as I just said, and it feels nice having like a normal sized iPad. The big one's fun and cool, but
It's
there's
big,
something
though.
special about that 11. Yeah, there's something special about it.
Yeah. It's definitely and I don't use a keyboard anymore with it. Like, I don't use any of that stuff. I just use the Kickspad. What do they call it?
The smart
I can't remember any names.
cover thing.
Smartfolio.
Yeah, Smartfolio.
Yeah. And like that's enough. That's plenty. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I still appreciate how thin this thing is. It's just like
It's amazing.
It's kind of wild. Because I also don't have the Magic Keyboard. It's like, let me not do this. I've got the headless MacBook Air, so when I need a keyboard, I can just pop that next to it and do that.
Talk to me about this headless MacBook Air. You've said this twice now. What is this thing?
I bought a MacBook Air, an M1, on eBay for $300. It had a broken screen. It was a base model. So it's like, okay, get a broken screen, MacBook Air, $300. It's not the same cost as an iPad keyboard these days. So I removed the screen, removed the screen, and followed Vitici's guide for setting up where you could kick off so you can kick up Sidecar from the iPad itself using a script. So I never have to. So so I can use it with the iPad as a Mac screen, or just use it as continuity keyboard and mouse and stuff. But in the real winner is the Vision Pro, where it just like it shines as like it's things on your lap and you have a full Mac there, and it's great.
I totally forgot that he did that. That was like when the Vision Pro came out.
Yeah, so around that time.
Yeah. I remember, like, I'm reading this. I'm just like, this is insane.
Yeah, but it's kind of brilliant, especially if if you're not destroying a nice computer, but if you're just like finding like something that's like $300, like that's
that's amazing. Even with a broken screen, $300.
No,
that's crazy good.
Good. Yeah. So highly endorse that, and it was lots of fun. Yeah. And when you're at the desk, it's fun just plugging in. It's plugged into external monitor now, so it's like a desktop computer basically at this point. Yeah, it's great. It's great little form factor. I want some kind of cover, some metallic cover to put over top of it, because the Mac really doesn't like you pressing its keys when you're in a backpack or something. I need like I've looked. I need to get like a 3D printed cover or something to like make that less annoying, because it'll even like power on. Like you turn it off and you hit a key. The Mac now just turns on. It's just like
any key.
You must want to turn me on. It's like this was not the way it was back in 2007 or 8.
No, there was only
power
one key.
It was a nice silver.
The best.
It was so good. The round one. It was
the
shiny.
best.
That's such a good power button. Those old
You know what I miss the most about like that era of MacBooks is when you would close it and then the like idle light would breathe.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It was comforting. Yeah, that was in my dorm room or whatever. You'd have that just breathing, and I love the all silver look with the It's a good look. I miss that.
And the lit up logo. They gotta bring that back.
Yeah,
that was.
They should figure that out. They should. I understand thinness or whatever, but they should just have some. If they can't do it the way they used to do it, they should have like LEDs dedicated to just like lighting that up.
Yeah,
I think
that was awesome.
Yeah, I think in the past it it was transparent. Like if the sun was there, you'd see the Apple logo like shining through on your screen or something. I kind of forget how they did it, but
okay.
Yeah. But anyways, that was a fun tangent. I like tangents every now and then.
There's probably going to be more. Sorry.
Yeah, all good. And then with the iPad and photo editing, Apple Pencil is something you utilize, or is it all finger for you?
and touch?
It's all finger. I'm literally staring at my Apple Pencil, which
Yeah.
I haven't used in like maybe since like the week after I bought it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I can articulate why. I think
Mhm.
it's more like it's just an extra thing to like keep track of.
Yeah.
And yes, it goes on it magnetically, but like
It falls off
you know,
very easily too, though.
well, even that, and even when I don't want to use it, like if I'm on the couch, I put it on, the side of the
Yeah.
thing, then it falls on the floor, or the cats
Mhm.
jump up and,
Yep.
knock it away or something. So then I'm like, I'll just keep it here, and then I just never use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find my fingers good enough.
Yeah.
It does the job.
No, for sure.
I have beautifully thin fingers, so it's all
Yes.
good.
Any other iPad things you do? Browsing the web's probably a big thing on the couch. Is managing your sofa collection while watching something on the TV a common thing for you?
It's funny. I use Sofa mostly for my phone, and especially
Interesting.
now that like because it has a podcast player now, so you can listen to
Mhm.
podcasts and stuff in it. So like, and yes, I'm plugging. Sorry, gang, but
Yes.
I got to sell a little bit, right? I'm here,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. But yeah, it's weird. So I'll use Sofa on the iPad probably the least out of like between my phone, iPad, and Mac.
Yeah.
So
It's on the Vision Pro as well.
It's on the Vision Pro. I do not have a Vision Pro.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you did or not. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is on there. And yeah, I do my
It's a big
best
investment. It's a big investment, the Vision Pro.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for version 2. Yeah.
No, that's probably
and
the
like,
smart thing. Yeah.
like you wear glasses too, so like add an extra $500 onto
No,
that thing
that's like reasonable. It's like $100, I think, for the Zeiss lenses.
for the lenses.
Yeah, it's either 100 or 150. It was very reasonable.
Oh,
I was surprised because like my third-party PlayStation VR2 ones were around
Yeah.
the same cost, and these are much higher quality. Naturally,
that's good.
So yeah,
All right. I don't know where I heard $500,
I don't know.
but I heard that I was like,
You gotta
oh,
go
goodness.
get a doctor appointment to get a prescription. I guess that's the $500. Yeah.
maybe they're just like, well, they're American, so it's probably really expensive,
Right?
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
so,
I love the Vision Pro because like I put it on and I can see everything perfectly versus like different computers. Like, what pair of glasses should I grab for the best clarity of it not being too clear and like. Vision Pro is great for just seeing.
You're triggering a tangent about wearing glasses and how much I hate wearing glasses.
They're the
just
worst. I mean,
they're just
and
like,
then they give you if you want to have healthier eyes, you need like multiple different pairs of different strengths because you don't want to have it clear past where you're actually looking at. Otherwise, it's not good for your eyes yet. But I could do a whole team.
Good Lord.
Good Lord. Yeah, I know. Especially in America, they've really screwed the pooch with the lobbyists. Anyway.
Yeah. No, it's terrible.
Prescription on.
Yeah, and they like gatekeep, like you can't.
Yeah,
you need a prescription.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right, yeah.
Like, all right, relax. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, okay. But let's dive into Sofa.
Sure.
So Sofa has been around 10 years. You've been working on it. You mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Give me just the pitch for what this app is all about.
Yeah. So it's essentially a tool for helping you be more intentional with your downtime, right? So the way that can like manifest within the app is as simple as you keep a list of things you want to do. So that can be movies you want to watch, books you want to read, games you want to play. And it really comes out of, there's a lot else in there, which we can get into. But it really stems from like, and I know other people do this too, where you hear about something, someone goes, oh, you got to read this book. You got to see this show. And you go, oh yeah, that sounds really good. And then what most people do is they go, yeah, I got to check that out. Then they just never do anything, right? They just kind of forget. But then there's like us nerdy people who would use like a notes app or some kind of like to-do list or something like that and keep track of that stuff in some way. Or there's actually tons of people who use like paper notebooks for that, right? Like a field notes or something else. And so like that activity is already something that people do. And for the people who are listening to this and they hear that, they go, yeah, of course I do that. Why wouldn't I do that? And this is an app essentially dedicated for that purpose. So, if you say, oh, you got to check out this movie, I can go into Sofa, type in that movie, and simply add it. And then it gives you all the niceties. So you get like the cover image, you get a description about it. You can see like what streaming services stuff's on, that kind of stuff. And it's grown from there. We can get into like specifics and stuff like that. But the general purpose is like just helping you to be more intentional with your downtime. So you're not like spending 30 minutes bouncing between streaming services looking for something to watch. You can just look at your list and say, oh, let's watch this.
Is Netflix's content easy to access and add to the app?
Yeah, so the service I use is called the Movie Database, which kind of powers a bunch of apps. And
that's what Call Sheet uses, I think.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So they have tons of stuff because it's you can go and add. So if you're like, oh, a movie's not there, that's weird, you can go add it yourself. So it's kind of like community driven too.
Yeah.
So it has a ton of different content, like lots and lots of content, and then they partner with Just Watch to provide the like streaming services for specific movies and shows.
Okay. Something I was just thinking of is movies that are in theaters. It feels like you need to go the week or two they're there on the premium screen versus going in the
IMAX.
I'd imagine IMAX.
Yeah.
I'd imagine like Sofa, like it'd be cool to have a special section for like here's the movies I want to check out this year and with the release dates, and like is that something that's in there now or how's that work? Yeah.
So all that would have to be like you set that up kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's actually kind of interesting. So the very first version of Sofa in 2015 was very discovery focused. So it literally had like a full curated discovery section that like we would update with like new stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was one section called List, and then that's where you just kind of dumped everything.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot with that, and learned that the list functionality is really where the magic was.
Yeah.
And the discovery part was a lot of work to maintain, and like a lot.
Yes.
And
I can imagine.
so,
there's a lot of content there, even more so these days. Yeah. But yeah, the theaters thing I was just thinking of, it's like that'd be kind of cool as a special section because like things to listen to, it's like, oh, that's stuff I can do when I'm like walking around stuff. Movies and shows to watch, that's stuff at home primarily that I can watch in these different contexts. So all these things are like a little bit contextual about like the different groupings of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it makes sense to have like a separate section that people could enable for like going out and here's the things like even like Broadway or whatever, like it's stuff that like events and stuff would be interesting.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because last year I did a big update where that allowed you to add anything into Sofa because I was getting tons of requests for people saying like, hey, like I actually want to track this other stuff too, and that can be as simple as like restaurants to go eat at, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
So basically what you can do now is, you kind of have like the built-in categories that are connected to different APIs and stuff. But then you can create your own categories and you can name them whatever you want, give them little icons, and then you can either like manually type stuff in, or you can use the share sheet and share like links in and stuff like that. So, and this is interesting because it's not originally where I was going with the app, but through feedback and iteration and stuff, it's been a really cool and unexpected way to go. Because I think for people who know about Sofa, they think about the media that you consume and stuff, but it is a downtime organizer, and the way that people use their downtime is very different. Some people, they go outside for their downtime.
Right? Hiking trails. It's like and the hiking, you could have like, oh, here's how long the hike is, and put that in there.
Yeah. So like
one thing I'm curious about, Apple Health has this bedtime notion. Have you considered integrating some way of like, here's when bedtime's set, you open up Sofa, and it's aware of how long episodes or movies are, and you could like, let me make here's my tonight's repertoire to fit everything in before bedtime kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. So there's a feature called the logbook, which is essentially like a journal of how you've spent your downtime. So you can keep track of like what you've watched, read, played, all that stuff. And there's like very, very simple metrics in there. So it'll say like you've read 20 books in 2024 or 2025, right?
Yeah.
But you talk about that is because I have like stuff on my list to do where like I want to expand those kind of metrics in a way to give people more interesting information about how they're using their downtime. And I think that can potentially expand beyond just, the things you consumed, but what did you do, and maybe it connects with other, health data and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Is the runtime accessible in Sofa? Like, could you make a smart list of here's all this content in my queue that's like 40 minutes or less, or here's the stuff I've got, let's do a 3-hour plus movie kind of thing.
Yeah. So smart lists you're able to use. Now we're getting into like the nitty gritty of Sofa.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there's also these things called ingredients, which are essentially like database properties, right? And you can make your own, right? So you can do, multi-selects or toggles or text fields, whatever. And you can make smart lists based on that information. And one of the, I'll say, next to almost next things I'm going to be adding is including that metadata too.
Okay, nice.
So that you can see, the runtime and the different genres for different games and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's like, do you have 100 hours to spend? Here's Xenoblade for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And really like my approach with this stuff is, and this is like what I learned as being a designer for a long time, is to not make too many assumptions at the beginning for what people want and how they're going to use it. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather, this is what I've done over time, is like build something very simple. Like I remember when I did Sofa 2.0, which was like a completely new app, very simple, like very, very simple. And I had reached out to some people in the press when it launched, and people were so nice, and they said, all right, well, get in touch with us when it does a little more, right? Like it was like so basic. But over time, you learn how people use stuff. You learn what they, and people do this thing where they say, oh, you should add this. And then really the follow-up question is like, well, what are you trying to do? Right? Like what is like the goal you're trying to achieve, or where you're trying to get to? So I think it's allowed me to kind of like iterate the product in more natural ways, and with things that I wouldn't have been able to think of at the beginning. And it's much easier to add stuff than to remove stuff too.
Right. Yes. Because after you get a user hooked on X feature and you take it out, it's
painful.
Yeah. So you mentioned a share sheet. If you're, say, a call sheet user, can you beam like a movie from call sheet into Sofa pretty easily?
I haven't tried it, but as long as there's a URL, sure.
Because I'd imagine that would be a pretty interesting combo of like browsing and call sheet of stuff people are.
I'm opening call sheet right now. Share. Let's see. Does it work? Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and the link is a call sheet link. Yeah.
Nice.
And so it grabs the cover image, it grabs a link, the title, and then you can kind of add your own little metadata and stuff. But yeah, you can definitely do that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And as far as kind of the workflow, I guess the workflow of using Sofa, like you have the Apple TV up next queue, you have all these different queues. Mm-hmm. Can you, like with Sofa, you can open movies and stuff from within Sofa? Is an Apple TV app something you've considered where you could have Sofa up on the TV and like hit a button where it launches in whatever streaming service? Is that part of
that? That's what I want to do. Someone literally just asked me this today, like an hour ago. So basically, because I used the movie database for the API, and per the agreement, even though they're using just watch information, I'm not allowed to link directly to those services. I have to link. Yeah. So like, I show that stuff, and then when you tap it, it goes to the movie database website.
Okay.
So I would have to have like a separate agreement with Just Watch to be able to do that kind of stuff.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So it opens up that webpage, and then on that webpage, I think there's links to the different services it's on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which is like, from a design perspective, it's like it sucks and it's lame. But that's why I haven't done an Apple TV app, because that experience would be even worse. Because you'd be like, what is this?
There's no web view, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The licensing and stuff. It's interesting because you'd think all the streamers would want people to watch their stuff, but just like Netflix, they don't want you out of their apps either.
Yeah, the world of like media and like who owns what and who can do. It's like the same thing. Like, I don't know if you watch sports at all, but like, if I buy the MLB package, I can't watch the Phillies, which makes no sense. Yeah. It's like, well, why would I? Yeah, it's.
You can pay for everyone except the people you want to watch. Yeah.
It's just, all comes down to contracts and advertising and blah, blah, blah. But it's like user hostile, and it's not pleasant.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's not even like someone you could probably reach out. Like, is there someone that you could reach out to at, Apple for the Apple TV hook in, or I wonder if that'd ever be an API, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'll just start emailing random Apple emails.
Right. The one thing I've noticed just with the Apple TV app on Vision Pro is the whole runtime thing I was mentioning earlier of like, you have to like go into the movie like full page to like how long is this thing? When you're browsing your library. Yeah. The only way you see your runtime is if it's downloaded locally. Otherwise, it doesn't show you. It's one of the most infuriating things. It's like I'm looking for like I want to filter in the library part of the app. Like filter, here's the 90-minute filter, here's the 2-hour filter, because it's just it's a big problem. Like as far as just what is
that's interesting. So like what's like your context there? Like what are you like? I only have an hour.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. Yeah. I want to watch a short movie, or it's like, it's 7 o'clock. I can watch Lord of the Rings right now. Like, so it's just like, so there's a big wide.
The director's cut.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Where there's like 50 endings. You're like, wait, is it over yet?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Actually, Lord of the Rings. My wife will do like maybe once or twice a year. We'll do like, all right, this weekend is Lord of the Rings. All the extended version. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done. When I was in high school, I remember waking up at 6 a.m. and watching like the full Star Wars, like 1 to 6.
Yeah.
Just in a single day. Yeah. It's such a satisfying thing when you're a kid and
oh man.
As an adult, it's fun when everyone's out of town. You can do that again. But yeah.
What kind of snacks did you have? Like, what was your choice back then?
Probably popcorn back then.
Popcorn. All right.
Yeah.
Certain flavor.
These days, M&Ms are.
Yeah. All right. All right.
But it's always fun doing big, long, epic benches.
Oh man,
I'm very tempted to go see Revenge of the Sith, which is in theaters, I guess, pretty soon here.
Oh,
because
are they redoing those in the theaters again?
Just Revenge of the Sith for like the 20th anniversary.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I'm tempted. I don't know if I'll end up. My family's out of town right now, so it's like I have freedom to like go out and do stuff. Yeah.
So Am I gonna start a war with this question? Like, are you a hater on Star Wars for all the new ones, or are you all right?
I'm not. I mean, I like some of them more than less, I guess.
Sure.
All
right. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And the Clone Wars animated is just great. I love that stuff. Like, after the first season, it got really good. But yeah, I'm excited for Andor. I didn't watch that show that came up before that. I forget what the name. The Goonies Star Wars one.
Oh yeah, what? I honestly watched what was the first one with that Jon Favreau did?
Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
What's the Mandalorian?
Yeah. Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
So I watched season 1 of that and I was like, this is great. It was a little slow to get going, but I enjoyed it.
No, yeah.
But then there was like to me it felt like, because I like Star Wars, but I didn't like grow up on Star Wars.
Sure. Yeah.
Like the era that I grew up, this isn't even movies. This is just like characters is like Harry Potter. So like Harry Potter's like deep in my blood. Yeah. Like the books and the movies and stuff. But
I was the same age as like the actors playing them in the movies, so I kind of grew up with the actors as they're doing the movies. It's like, this is great. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Star Wars, I feel like there was just like 50 other shows that came out afterwards after The Mandalorian. I was like, I don't know if I have time for all this. Like, there's just like so much happening, you know?
Yeah, no movies, but lots of TV. Yeah.
Yeah, which is better in some ways, to be honest with you. It's more fun.
Yeah.
Like you can go super deep. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with the things to listen to, you can actually listen in the app now with the podcast client.
Yeah.
And which is also has CarPlay. Now, I must say, this is a no-go for me, sadly, because the Apple Watch is my primary podcast client. I use Pocket Casts, which is like a standalone podcast app, pretty much, where you download everything locally. It streams over cellular.
Yep.
So I'm often with my day job, just I need to be away from my phone, and like, so imagine Apple Watch would be a lot of work to get that going.
Yeah, it's high on the list to do though. So and this is where like, you know, I knew this is like V1 of the podcast player, and there's just going to be stuff that's not there. And the Apple Watch app is, I've got many requests for that one. So which is totally understandable too. Yeah, you know,
and the Apple Watch is it's a hard platform because a lot of apps are just like, let me be a remote control to what's happening on the iPhone, and the true like win for an Apple Watch is like standalone apps that can sync seamlessly with the iPhone and iPad and all that.
And I think the CarPlay like experience is actually a good, probably pretty similar to how the Apple Watch app will end up going. Because like, you know, even before the podcast player, I could never think of why you would use Sofa on your watch. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, I guess you could like look at your lists, but like, I don't like the context of you looking at your watch and not your phone at that point just seemed, yes, I'm sure there are people who would
I'm trying to think like, what would you track in Sofa where it's on your watch, where you're out and about, and I don't even know. Maybe
sure
adding things to lists might be the thing.
Yeah, it could be that. Yeah. But I think now with the podcast player, there's like a very clear like, oh yeah, this makes total sense to do. So, but I'm saying this at this point, I have no idea what's involved with making an Apple Watch app.
I hear it's very painful just with like how long the watch takes to update.
Yeah. So I may have some pain ahead of me, but you know, so be it. That's the life I live.
Yeah. So the podcast app has chapter markers and stuff. Clickable timestamps is one thing. I'm not sure if you've gotten feedback about. A lot of podcasters, they're very lazy once you get out of the text space, and they just put timestamps with no chapters associated with them. Yeah. So I don't know if clickable timestamps is something you've.
That's also coming. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And I think they do that because like that's how YouTube videos work too. Right?
Yeah.
You just kind of like
it's easier.
And I think Spotify does that too. You just kind of like dump the stuff in there. Whereas like, you know, the nerdier people who are producing podcasts, they like go through the process of like, I'm going to put images for every chapter and which is nice. So that's like a future enhancement that'll eventually come.
Awesome. Yeah. One of the apps I remember, I'm not sure which podcast app does it, but they look in like the description, if it finds timestamps, it'll make its own like fake chapters out of those timestamps, which I thought was just super clever.
Yeah, that's essentially what it'll eventually do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And then, as far as like aspirations of the podcast app, it's designed to be eventually your primary podcast app, not a secondary thing. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, like you have been listening to podcasts for years. Like I still remember my mom saying like when I was like a teenager at home, she's like, what are you listening to? I was like, oh, it's a podcast. She's like, what is that? Right. And I was like loading them on my iPod, you know?
Yeah.
So like podcasts have just been, I just love podcasts. It's like one of the greatest forms of media because it's so adaptable, right? Like, it's just like, you can enjoy this in the car, washing dishes, traveling, just hanging out. Like it's just, it's so good. I guess like the next, best thing would be music, right? Like music's like that too. You can kind of enjoy it in most places. So the podcast player, I've used maybe all the apps or in different ways, and some I stuck with more than others over different periods of time. But just me
funny.
personally,
Apple Podcasts is funny. I load up Apple Podcasts every now and then just because that transcription is so handy. Like
it's really good.
Like I go through I'm trying to find like a discussion like from 10 years ago about this video game that came out around then. I'll just search a transcript to jump to that point and it's so that I use that as like a not a primary client but like a secondary thing for like yeah.
And I feel like all the different ones, they all have their unique strengths and areas where, depending on your preferences, they're a little weaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had like I was never like fully satisfied essentially with what I wanted out of a podcast player.
Yeah.
And that's mostly around just like queue management. I just felt like so many apps and I wonder too if like, because they just do podcasts that they feel like they have to build more, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like with Sofa, it's like I already have list management here, so you can make the list already. Yeah. And I'm just layering on the ability to listen to podcasts if there's a podcast in your list. And if there's not a podcast in your list, then it doesn't show it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really focused on like the queue management, making that as kind of dead simple as possible. And then obviously like the listening experience has to be very good, but
yeah, for sure. And the whole smart speed and all that kind of voice enhancements, is that something you've?
Yeah, that's on the roadmap too. Yeah.
Roadmap. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. As far as adding your own episodes, like can you upload audio into Sofa in any way?
Not yet.
Is that something? Okay.
You're hitting on all the stuff that's going to come eventually. I don't have any timeline for this stuff.
Yeah.
Because so I launched this in April 2nd, so it's been 20 days. And since April 2nd, it's been just like bug fixes,
Yeah.
Because I beta tested for months with this. But at some point you gotta let it rip and, and let the bugs come in as they come in.
Yes.
You can only do so much testing at that point. But yeah, so I've been focused on that, getting things nice and stable and solid, fixing bugs, and then I'll be doing some like roadmap planning stuff very soon for what's coming next. But yeah, so for me personally, it has been my primary podcast player since November, and I obviously like I'm biased because I made it, but like I love it, and it is I don't miss anything from any of the other players I was using. I'm not talking crap on any of those players.
Sure.
Because the one thing I've learned from making a podcast player is people have very, very specific wants and needs and workflows around listening to podcasts. Like
they really do.
Oh yeah.
Like me, like it needs to be on the watch for me to
100%
use it. Yeah.
And there's just things that are just like, well, this is a no-go for me because it doesn't do this. And I'm like, I totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. As far as the premium unlock, so you can download the app Sofa for free.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get the baseline experience. What all comes with the unlock?
Yeah. Yeah. So the free Sofa experience, I actually think is very generous. You can add as much as you want. You can create as many lists as you want. You can create groups, so you can do all that kind of organization, however you want to do that stuff. And then the premium experience, and you can listen to podcasts for free. That's that's not blocked or anything. The premium stuff is really around more of like I would say nerdier pro-y type features. So I mentioned ingredients before, so you can add your own custom ingredients. So like one of the things that people would ask for all the time is like, hey, I want a rating system in Sofa. And then I would say, okay, like what does that look like to you? And then I would get all types of answers. Some would say 5 stars. Some would say thumbs up, thumbs down. And, think of any other combination of those things. And so the ingredients is essentially an answer to stuff like that, where it allows you to, if you've ever used things like Notion or Airtable, you can add your own properties, right? And they're called ingredients, and kind of set up Sofa in the exact way that you want. And then you can use that information to make smart lists and stuff like that. So those are part of the Super Sofa, the kind of paid stuff. You can also add sticky notes. That's part of the paid feature. Smart lists are part of the paid feature. And then for podcasts specifically, chapter selection. So that stuff is blocked behind that stuff. And then if you want to set settings on an individual podcast basis. So for example, say there's like a certain news podcast you listen to, but they post like 3 times a day. Maybe you only want to keep 3, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to keep everything, or maybe you only want to keep 1 or something, right? Like, so you can control that stuff on a individual podcast basis. And when you think of things like, smart speed and voice boost, all that kind of stuff, those will be part of the pro stuff as well.
Nice. I was just noticing the app icon.
Yeah.
Sofa chairs are a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I always think of sofa couches. It's like that's not a couch, but yeah, sofa chairs are definitely a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, a sofa couch was too wide for an app icon. Yeah. So a sofa chair fits nicely in a little square. Yeah.
And the iPad version, I'm glad you support multiple windows. That's kind of a cool thing that's in there.
Yeah. I try, like, if I'm gonna support a certain platform, like, I try and do it well. And even if I don't use all the different, features of a certain platform, but yeah, multiple windows on iPad, 100%. And that's actually, like, if you're doing more modern iOS development, it's fairly straightforward to do that from a developer perspective.
Yeah. Now, something I'm noticing now, I'm guessing it's so you don't corrupt your database. Having Sofa and split screen with itself, it kind of like dims one of them. So like you can't like drag and drop between different lists with 2 different instances of Sofa. It seems like, right?
Right. That is like I feel like I have, I don't know, 10 plus years of Sofa work ahead of me, hopefully, right?
Yes.
There's just like so much I want to do with it. And so like you're starting to get on stuff where like there is a Mac app for Sofa. It's a Mac Catalyst app. So it's not like, and I'm someone who loves the Mac. I love Mac apps. Sofa it's fine on the Mac.
Yes.
Like it's fine. But that's a deliberate choice, as in like, okay, it can be amazing, or I'm picking the fact that it's there and that's better than nothing, and then I can improve it over time. Because like right now on the Mac, if you use it, you would expect that you can kind of drag stuff around and move them to different lists and stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff isn't supported right now. But once it is, that'll apply to all the platforms, because it'll be in a nice seamless way.
Nice. Yeah. And then, so we talked about duration as a thing that I care about. The other thing I care about.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Release dates would be interesting to have. Like, so in the games I want a playlist, it'd be great to have next to Death Stranding 2 on the beach, the release date, like in a different column or something, and how I could have like, here's my calendar for the year and what I should be aware of coming up.
Yeah.
Is release date something that you've considered integrating in any meaningful way?
Yeah. So, release dates are there for stuff. You just have to like tap in to see the details.
Okay.
But one of the things, and if anyone's interested, I do publish a public roadmap on Sofa's website, so you can check that stuff out. But one of the major features I'm going to be doing at some point is the working title is Sofa Events. But essentially the idea is that, okay, so you have this app where you can keep all this stuff that you want to do later at some point, right? And keep track of it. But I want to build some tooling into there that will help people to plan that stuff a little bit better.
Yeah.
And, this can be a very simple, like timeline view in a way. And if you think about it, that gives you some flexibility to add your own little events in there to say like, hey, we're taking a trip in 6 months, right?
Yes.
And it kind of gives you a little countdown towards that. But then, hey, you have all this data in your database with future dates that haven't hit yet. And it would be nice to kind of plot those things on that as well, so you can kind of see what's coming up. So that's like very high level, but that's like a major feature that I do plan to do.
Nice. Yeah. That'll be great. I also just must say I appreciate in settings create the computers of 14-inch MacBook Pros the app was created on, and all these little just fun little things in there.
Yeah. Little quirky stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the Sofa ID used for? Like copying your Sofa ID. What is that?
Yeah. So behind the scenes, so I use a service called Revenue Cat for managing the app subscriptions. They essentially just make it much easier to add subscriptions to your app and manage all of the intricacies around that stuff. And what they do is every device is essentially assigned a random user ID.
Okay.
And that's essentially used even if you don't subscribe, right? Even if you're not paying, there's just like a user ID for that. And that's for, doing like some customer support stuff. But I have no idea who has those IDs. Like there's no identifiable information. So it's mostly like if someone emails me, they can email me the ID and then I can help troubleshoot some support stuff. Yeah.
And then video game wise, there's a couple things I was thinking about.
Time to beat? Are you going to say time to beat?
Well, time to beat that'd be great. I actually wasn't.
Oh, okay. All right. That's the one I get all the time. Time to beat.
Would be a great integration because it's amazing how accurate that site is. Like, surely that's not
unbelievable.
It's always accurate. Yeah.
The internet is amazing, right? Like the internet's got a lot of problems, but like it is amazing.
It really is because it's spot on with that stuff. But as far as time tracking, have you considered like using Sofa with hit a button, I'm playing the game now, hit a button, I'm stopped playing the game, so you can log how long it took for you to play the game.
You're getting to the fun stuff that I like now that the podcast player is quote unquote done. There's definitely stuff to do there. That's why I said there's so much work to do. It's fun.
There's always something in this.
Oh yeah. But one of the other major things I'm going to be doing.
I mean, books too would be another place this would be.
100%. Yeah. So essentially, I'm going to be building some way, and I don't know what this looks like yet, but a way to track progress and goals of some sort. And this really stemmed from, because right now with TV shows, there's no way to track individual episodes, and so I get that request. Constantly.
That must be huge. Yeah,
constantly. But I also I intentionally haven't done it because I didn't want to just do something just for TV shows, because I actually think there's a lot of overlap between tracking progress, like this higher level goal of tracking progress, right? Yeah. And that can be TV shows, right? That could be books you're reading. Like maybe you're on chapter 2 and you want to jot down some notes. It's almost like a little journal for your journey, right? Or playing Zelda or something, right? Like where you're putting, an obscene amount of hours into that game, right? And you want to kind of document it in a way.
Yeah, it'd be fun to put screenshots in of different things.
Yeah. So I intentionally haven't done the TV tracking because I think there's a bigger, more interesting opportunity for overall progress documenting as you're enjoying something. That could be a vacation too, if you think about it. It's not just limited to that. So, and that's, again, I come back to, it's a downtime organizer, and how you use your downtime is so varied depending on what you're into.
Yeah. And the logbook, just for video games, I'd love to log it when I start playing and when I finish playing. Yeah. So it's like, oh, this is what this year looked like. I played Indiana Jones for 2 months because it's a long game or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
As far as the logbook, at the end of the year, do you do anything fun as far as your year review? Is that something you've considered?
No, I don't do a Spotify rap type situation. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's popular.
Oh yeah. I kind of I guess I could do something. I don't know. This is where I'm not saying I'm correct, but my gut reaction to stuff is if I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this, I'm not just going to do something just to check a box.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it out until I feel like I have something that's worth it. Otherwise, because then we talked about if I got to remove this thing, because I implemented shared lists 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was using CloudKit for sharing, and a lot of trickiness with that API and it really wasn't reliable.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up removing it because it just really didn't work. And it was actually holding back some newer things I wanted to do that just weren't really compatible with it.
Yeah.
And that's like a mistake that I made where I was like, I wish I gave that more time to bake before I committed to it. Where I was like excited about it, so I did it, and then it didn't really work that well. And it kind of, I didn't plan enough with future things I was going to be doing.
I see.
And it didn't really fit. So then I had to remove it. And like, you know, it sucks when you have to tell people like, hey, this thing that you really like, it's gone. Yeah.
So tell me about your sofa database. Do you have custom groups? Like what's yours look like?
Mine is like, there's parts that make a lot of sense and others that are chaos. And that's a mix of like, there's like testing areas and then there's like my areas.
Because you're trying to break the app while you're using it too, I'm sure.
100%. And then people will send me stuff like, hey, I'm trying to get this thing working. It's not working. So then I try and like reproduce it to see like what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just stuff in here that's like mostly just chaos. But I am a heavy user of the Pile. Love the Pile. And if you don't know what the Pile is, or you're trying to visualize this, so like think of that place in your home where you just kind of like chuck things that you're like, you know, you're walking in the door and your hands are full and you just kind of like plop stuff on the counter and you're like, yeah, I'll get to that later. Like that's what the Pile is. Yeah. So I use that constantly. Cause like, yeah, I'll organize it later. Or maybe I'll just delete it. Like I have no idea.
Right.
I would say like I use the podcast player all the time, every day. Love it. And that's in like the up next queue.
Yeah.
But I would say probably my favorite feature of the app is the logbook. And that's because like people, like my memory is not great. And people will say, hey, have you seen anything good lately? And then I go, oh my God, have I seen anything good lately? I don't know. So I can't remember. So I literally just pull it up and then, you know, filter by like movies or shows. And then it's like a great little like conversation starter. But also me and my wife will watch the same shows over and over, the same movies over and over. And we'll say like, oh, when's the last time we watched, you know, Just Go With It. We love Adam Sandler movies. Yeah. And then I'll, you know, just search and find it. Boom, done.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, I personally I treat it as like a little journal, right? And I'll write little sticky notes, you know, when we've done stuff. And now that you can add anything to it, I've even added like when we go to a restaurant that we really like, where, you know, someone could say, oh, what are some good places to eat? Or even we're thinking like, hey, where are we going to eat tonight? Right. You know, just kind of pull that stuff up, which is nice.
Or make notes about the restaurants, like the breadsticks here weren't good, or
right,
you know, get something else. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, don't go for breakfast. Go for dinner or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
One
experience I remember I think it was like college probably. I was walking through a mall and there was a song playing. I just used Shazam. It's like it's a good song. It's such a revolutionary thing. I'd imagine Shazam, you could just use a share sheet and beam that right in the sofa, right?
Yeah, you'd be able to do that. You can also search it. You can search music in there too, like music albums. It's connected to iTunes API. But now
there's no Shazam. But there's no Shazam built in.
No, not yet. No. Now you got me thinking of Shazam. I can literally remember the first time I saw someone use Shazam, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what is this?" I went with my brother to an Eagles game in Minnesota, and the day before the game, we went to it was some bar, and his friend out of nowhere was like, just like holding his phone up, and it was like a flip phone. It wasn't even like it wasn't like
right, because back then you could call or something. I thought or something. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah.
And I was just like blown away. I was like, wait a second. That's telling you what song is playing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, unbelievable.
One of the services, you can hum or sing into it, and it did a good job finding the thing. Like, we were trying to think of the song. We knew the tune, but and that you got it. Like, yeah.
Now I'm
It's
thinking
wild.
about Movie Phone. You remember Movie Phone?
Movie phone, yes.
Yeah.
Why don't you just tell me the name of the movie? Seinfeld.
So
Yes.
good. So good.
Yep, so good. Well, anything we didn't cover about Sofa you'd like to before we start to wrap it up?
I mean, I think people should check it out, you know?
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
You mentioned you do share a public roadmap. What's kind of the next big thing you're working on that you're able to share?
Yeah, so I haven't fully committed yet. So basically I'm in this spot right now where I have to decide between do I focus next on like quality of life stuff where there's just like a bunch of little stuff that's built up, little, friction points in the app that I can definitely improve and do some iterations on like existing features. Or do I go for another big one? And I haven't quite decided yet. And I think, I've been in the weeds on the podcast player for.
Yeah, and that was a big addition there.
Yeah. So I think once things settle with like the bug fixing and stuff, I need to like take a step back, have a little break, get some perspective. Cause I think I'm a little close to it right now. And then that'll give me a little clarity on like, okay, what should I do next? Is it the smaller things that people will definitely appreciate, or is it another big thing? And then that kind of pushes off the other stuff for a little bit longer. So I don't know yet. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, cool. Well, where can people follow you online? You have a YouTube channel that's been pretty cool to just watch some of those as well.
I would say, definitely go to YouTube. I mean, I'm on all the things. There's too many of these.
There's too many. Yeah.
I'm like, it's like Blue Sky, Threads, Mastodon.
Mastodon, yeah.
There's too many.
I'm not on Blue Sky yet. I'm waiting for Ivory for Blue Sky to come out. That'll probably follow.
That will be a very welcome addition. Or it's called Phoenix, right?
Yeah, that's the name of it.
Yeah. So I'm on all that stuff. You could just go to my website too. I've ShawnHickman.me. We can just link that. That'll point you everywhere you need to go, kind of thing.
And Sofa in the App Store.
Sofa in the App Store.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can check out the website too. There's tons of information there if you prefer to, because the App Store is only so much info. So if you want to see if this is for you, you can just go to the website, check that out.
Oh, this could be long. This could be short. Anything about the Vision Pro version of the app worth mentioning? Developing it and any weird oddities to that platform and design considerations that you just want to share real quick?
Yeah, I actually made a video about this, about like designing for the Vision Pro was actually pretty hard.
Yeah.
One of the things, I think the biggest thing I struggled with was how much of the transparency do you use within a window frame versus using like solid colors.
Sure.
And I know the guidance from Apple's team is lean into the transparency.
Sure.
But like, I don't know, is that right? Yeah. Is that right? I don't know. Right.
Yeah. And you're developing without a headset, right? And then testing occasionally.
Which is also challenging. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have some friends who do have Vision Pros and would try the beta and give feedback, because the hardest thing was gauging like spacing between elements and
how well the eye tracking works.
100%. The hover states on things and stuff. So it's actually kind of interesting because it kind of reintroduces stuff from like, a desktop interface in a way, like hover states and everything. Yeah. I know the iPad has been doing that with the trackpad and everything, but so with Sofa, I have a very custom theming system for Sofa. So like in Sofa, there's literally over 100 different themes that you can choose from. And that's actually part of the paid subscription as well. So by default, you can choose a light or dark theme. And then with the subscription,
there's like the 90s. And
there's different categories and stuff. And so if you want to like really customize it, and on Vision OS, I'm like, well, how do I do this? Like, how do I do theming on this thing?
You could get wild with theming on Vision OS, because you could have like for a disco ball that's just in your room for a certain theme or something crazy.
Well, Right. So then you start expanding what you mean by theme, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
So is theme just like the theme of the environment, right? Where, you go into different lists and your theme changes or something, right? Like, yeah. Disco ball would actually be pretty funny, but
or snow falling in the sky. You have a little winter.
100%. Yeah. So there's all that stuff, and that's like bigger thing to think about. But even just the general UI, it's like my current theming system is at odds with Apple's guidance on using, translucent windows and stuff like that. And like, some of the stuff I was trying to theme didn't really want to be themed. And it was like kind of fighting against it. So I think where I landed is like, it's like this middle ground where like the surrounding Chrome is all translucent, and then like the main content area uses the theme. So like where you see, the stuff in the list and stuff, that seems to be a decent middle ground at this point. But it took quite a few iterations to get there.
I can imagine. Yeah. I will say you're probably one of the few native podcast apps there now. Pocket Cast and Overcast, they're all just iPad apps. So it's
look at that.
It might be one of the few.
All right, people.
If you want a native podcast app,
get out there. Let's do it. I don't have an Apple Watch app, but I got a Vision Pro.
You got a Vision Pro app. Yeah,
that's right.
I do find myself listening to podcasts actually quite a bit in the Vision Pro.
Oh, interesting. What's your context for that? Are you like working?
A lot of times I'll be playing PlayStation 5 with the Portal app, and it's a game where I'm like just grinding and don't need much audio from that, and I'll have like a podcast playing with podcasts on that.
Yeah.
Because Portal lets you use multiple audio sources, which is nice. You can use the Portal app, plus you can use. I could be watching like Netflix or Apple TV alongside Portal, which is wild how they developed that. Which isn't a standard behavior. Apple likes to cut out audio to only one place at a time.
Are you someone? Can you listen to podcasts when you're working?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's impressive.
All day long.
That's impressive.
I get through a lot of audiobooks and podcasts.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yep. Yeah. No. Day job is good from that angle.
Yeah. No, I feel like I need to be doing something like kind of mindless to be able to do that.
Yes.
But isn't it weird that like you can drive and listen to stuff?
It actually is. Some trips it's like, how did I get from here to here? But you do, and
that's amazing.
Autopilot. Yeah, it's wild. Anyways, this was a fun post credits scene, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I love tangents. They're fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Shawn. Really appreciate your time today, and excited to see the future updates as they roll out.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me, Tim. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's been a review with Shawn. My thanks to Shawn for his time recording. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/ApplePros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.